Rian sat near the back of the cargo ship, his legs hanging over the edge of a metal crate. The hum of the engine echoed through the walls, and the lights above flickered once every few seconds. He had been working as a technician for only a few months, but the job was simple: check supplies, fix machines, and report to the captain. The ship, Starwind, was headed toward a supply station near the edge of explored space. Rian was just one of many humans working for trade companies that moved between stars. He didn't remember much about his life before joining the crew. There were no parents to speak of, no family waiting for him, and no home planet he missed. It was easier to keep moving. He liked quiet places and long flights where the stars told their own stories. On the 5th day of travel, something strange happened. The Starwind suddenly changed course. The navigation screen blinked and showed an unknown signal nearby. The captain, a short and careful man named Brooke, ordered the crew to investigate. There was a flash of blue light in space, like a tear opening between two galaxies. "What is that?" someone asked. Before anyone could answer, the ship was pulled forward. The engines roared, and everyone on board held tight. The lights turned red. The computer warned of gravitational force pulling them toward an uncharted planet. The ship shook. Tools flew off the walls. Rian fell and hit his shoulder. A loud sound rang in his ears, and then everything went dark. When Rian opened his eyes, silence filled the air. Smoke rose from broken panels. He stood up slowly, holding his arm. The control room was empty. No voices, no movement. He called out, but no one answered. He stepped outside. The landscape was strange. The ground was smooth and glowing in soft purple light. The trees were tall, their leaves floating slightly above the branches. The sky had two suns, one golden and the other pale white. Rian realized this planet was not on any map he had ever seen. The ship had been pulled somewhere completely unknown. There were no signs of his crew, no footprints, no trail. It was as if they had vanished. Rian walked through the forest, searching for anything. The air smelled clean and fresh. The sounds were soft, like whispers carried by the wind. He didn't know what to do or where to go. But as he crossed a shallow stream, he heard footsteps behind him. Before he could turn, something hit him. A silver net fell over his body. It shocked him slightly, freezing his movement. Tall figures in shining armor stepped out from the trees. Their skin was pale, almost glowing, and their eyes were silver like moonlight. They didn't speak, but one of them touched a glowing stone and pressed it to Rian's neck. He felt sleepy. His eyes closed against his will. When he woke up, he was inside a wide chamber made of stone and light. The walls glowed faintly, and the floor was smooth and warm. Guards stood at the entrance, silent and still. Rian was dressed in a simple cloth tunic. His clothes and tools were gone. A moment later, two guards led him down a long hall. They passed large windows that showed cities floating above clouds, and gardens where animals with wings and horns moved gently through the trees. The place was beautiful, quiet, and filled with mystery. At the end of the hall stood a high throne made of crystal. On it sat a tall woman, dressed in deep blue and silver. Her crown glowed softly, and her hair flowed like water down her back. Her eyes, sharp and cold, looked directly at Rian. She was the queen of this strange world. Rian bowed slightly, unsure of what to say. "You are human," the queen said, her voice calm but strong. "Yes," Rian replied. "You should not be here." She said, "This world is hidden. Your kind has never stepped on it. No map, no record, no invitation." "I didn't come here by choice," Rian answered. "My ship was pulled. The crew is missing. I don't know where they went." The queen stood up. "And yet, you walk on our land, breathing our air." One of the guards whispered something to her. The queen nodded and looked at Rian again. "You will be kept until we decide what you are," she said. "You may be a scout, a spy, or something worse." "I'm just a worker," Rian said, his voice tired. "I don't know anything about this place." But she had already turned away. Later that night, Rian was placed in a tall room with walls of glass. A soft bed was prepared for him. The stars outside moved slowly, and strange birds flew past the windows. Rian sat near the edge of the room, staring outside, wondering if he would ever leave this place. Suddenly, the door opened, a soft breeze entered with the scent of flowers. The queen stepped in quietly. Her face was not cold this time, but thoughtful. "You look like someone I once knew," she said. Rian turned. "I've never been here before." "I know," she replied, "and yet your face, your voice, it pulls memories from deep inside me." Rian didn't know how to respond. The queen walked to the center of the room and placed a small crystal on the table. A light shone from it, showing a moving image of a young man. He was standing beside the queen, smiling. He looked exactly like Rian stared in disbelief. "That's not me," he whispered. The queen stepped closer. "Are you sure?" Rian couldn't answer. Before she left, she said one more thing. "Tomorrow, I will show you something you must see." Then she was gone. Rian sat alone once more. But this time, his heart was full of questions. Who was the man in the crystal? Why did he look the same? What had brought him here? The stars outside gave no answer, only silence. The next morning, Rian woke up early. The soft light of twin suns filtered into the room through the glass walls. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring out at the strange world beyond. Floating islands moved slowly across the sky. Trees sparkled in the sunlight, and birds with glowing wings flew in circles. Rian still didn't understand how he got there. His ship had been pulled from space by something unknown. His crew had vanished, and now he was a guest or maybe a prisoner in a palace that seemed to be made of magic and light. He touched his arm. The bruises from the crash were still there. Everything felt real, too real. A quiet sound came from the door. It opened, and two guards entered. They gave a small bow, then motioned for him to follow. Rian stood and walked between them, unsure of what was waiting. They moved through long hallways filled with paintings and statues. Some showed great battles in the sky, others showed peaceful gardens. Many of the faces in the art looked almost human. Rian kept his thoughts to himself. Finally, the guards brought him to a tall door made of gold and glass. It opened slowly. Inside was a wide room with high windows and a round crystal floor. The queen stood at the center, dressed in white and silver. She looked calm but serious. She turned when Rian entered. "Come," she said. He stepped forward carefully, round the edge of the room. Light flowed through long hanging crystals. They hummed softly, like music made of wind. "I brought you here because you must see something," the queen said. She raised her hand, and the floor beneath them glowed. A circle of light appeared, and images began to form in the air. Rian watched as the pictures moved like a dream. A man young, brave, and kind stood on a battlefield. He looked just like Rian. The man led soldiers, flew ships, and protected people from great dangers. He saved a child from fire. He stood beside the queen, smiling. That man, the queen said softly, was the last human to stand on this world. Rian stared at the image. "He looks like me." "He is you," she said. "Or, he was." Rian felt dizzy. "That's not possible. I've never been here before. I've worked on ships. I check engines. I fix wires. I'm not a hero." The queen looked at him with calm eyes. "You are more than what you remember." The image changed. It showed a ship crashing, a fire, and a bright light. The man was badly hurt. The queen stood beside him as he was placed into a glass pod, glowing with energy. "This happened many years ago," the queen said. "We put him in a healing pod, but something went wrong. The pod vanished. We thought he was gone forever." Rian stared. "You think that pod sent him through space and time?" she said. "You are that man. Your body healed, but your memories did not." Rian stepped back. "No, I don't remember any of this." "You've made a mistake." The queen lowered her hand. The light faded. "I thought so too," she said. "Until yesterday." She walked toward the door and motioned for Rian to follow. They moved through a smaller hall this time. The floor was made of blue stone, and the walls were lined with flowers that glowed gently. Rian stayed quiet as they walked. At the end of the hall was a small garden filled with light. A gentle breeze moved through the leaves. In the center stood a young girl, playing with floating lights. She had long hair, a soft smile, and she laughed as the lights danced around her. The queen stepped forward. "This is my daughter, Princess Mira." Rian smiled faintly. The girl looked happy and kind. He raised his hand and gave a small wave. Then something strange happened. The girl turned and saw him. Her eyes opened wide, and she ran toward him with joy. She wrapped her arms round his waist and looked up at him. "Father," she said. Rian froze. The queen took a sharp breath. Mira smiled brightly. "You came back." Rian looked down at her. "What did you say?" "Father," she repeated. "I remember your voice. I remember your eyes." The queen stepped forward slowly. She placed her hand on the girl's shoulder. "Mira," she said gently, "do you know who this is?" The girl nodded. "Yes, that's my father. I saw him in my dreams." The queen stared at Rian. Her face was pale, and her voice shook. "That's not possible." Rian stepped back. "I don't know what's happening." The queen turned and spoke to the guards. "Bring the truth crystal." A few moments later, a guard returned with a small stone that glowed blue. The queen took it and held it over Mira's head. The stone floated, then glowed brighter. She moved the crystal in front of Rian. It shone the same color. Then the crystal floated between them. Light poured out, showing a connection between the two. The light showed blood, energy, and something deeper. The queen's hand dropped. Her eyes filled with shock. "She has your blood," she whispered. "You are the child's father." Rian stared at her, unable to speak. "But that can't be," she said, almost to herself. "You disappeared before she was born. We thought you were lost in time. She was born later, with no father. We never understood why her eyes looked like yours." She looked at Rian again. "How is this possible?" "This isn't possible." Rian backed away slowly. "I don't remember any of this." Mira walked beside him and held his hand. "But I remember you. You used to tell me stories." Rian's mind spun. None of it made sense. But somehow, deep in his heart, something felt true. The queen placed her hand on her chest. Her voice was quiet. "I think the stars brought you back to us," she said. Rian looked around. The glowing garden, the quiet palace, the girl who called him Father Dot, and for the first time, he didn't feel like a stranger. The air in the royal garden was still. A soft breeze moved the glowing leaves, but no one spoke. The queen stood frozen. Her hands were shaking slightly. Her eyes, always calm and full of power, were now full of confusion and fear. She kept staring at Rian and then at her daughter. Rian stood quietly, feeling the small hand of Mira holding his. She looked up at him with trust and love. It was a look only a child could give a parent. "I don't understand," Rian said at last. "I've never seen her before. I don't even remember my past." The queen walked slowly toward him. "And yet she remembers you. The crystal has confirmed it. You share her blood. You are her father." "But how?" Rian didn't answer. His mind was too full of questions. He had no memory of this child, no memory of being with the queen, no memory of living on this world. The queen sat down on a stone bench nearby. She looked at Mira and then spoke again. "She was born 6 years ago. No father stood beside me. None of my people understood why her eyes were so different. They are not like ours. They are like yours." Rian looked at the girl. Her eyes were soft brown, filled with life and curiosity he hadn't noticed before. But she truly did look human. Even her smile reminded him of something he couldn't name. The queen placed her hand on her forehead. "I thought your ship was destroyed. I thought the healing pod had failed. But it must have saved you and sent you through space and time. Perhaps you returned only a short time ago, but for us." Many years passed. Rian sat beside the queen, still holding Mira's hand. "I can't remember anything. Not my name before, not my purpose, not even you." The queen looked at him. "You were called Rian then, too. You said it was a common name among your kind. You arrived here many years ago, not long before the war. You helped us. You fought beside our people. You were brave. You were kind. Mira smiled. And you told me stories about flying ships and glowing stars. I remember those dreams. The queen gently touched Mira's hair. She dreamed of you for years. I thought it was only her imagination. A soft knock came from the garden door. A tall woman in long silver robes entered. She bowed before the queen. Your Majesty, the High. Scholars have completed the second scan, she said. It is true. The child shares the human's blood. And something more. The queen stood up quickly. What more? The woman held up a scroll. There is a match in the ancient records. A line of humans that were said to be stubborn, those who passed through space and time without aging. We once believed it was a legend. But this man carries that mark in his cells. The queen took the scroll and read it in silence. Then she looked at Rian again. You are not only Mira's father. You may be something far greater. Rian stood slowly. But I don't remember anything about being special. The woman in silver stepped closer. Sometimes memory is lost, but truth remains. If your blood carries the ancient mark, it means you have walked through time itself. Rian looked around. The floating islands in the sky, the silver palace, the glowing trees, all of it seemed to strange, to magical. And yet something inside him whispered that it was real. What does this mean for her? He asked, pointing gently to Mira. The queen looked at her daughter. She may carry both legacies. My royal blood and your starborn mark. Mira looked at them both. Is that bad? The queen knelt in front of her. No, child, it means you may have the strength of both worlds. Suddenly, the light in the garden shifted. A loud bell rang in the distance. The queen stood up fast. What is it? Rian asked. A guard ran into the garden and bowed. Your Majesty, a ship has entered the outer skies. It is not from our world. It bears the mark of the Zorth. The queen's eyes narrowed. They return again. Rian stepped forward. Who are the Zorth? The queen turned to him. They are conquerors. They once tried to destroy this world. They were the reason we hid our planet from the maps of space. You helped defeat them once. That battle, it was your last memory before you vanished. Rian's chest tightened. He had no memory of any battle, but something inside him stirred. Like a locked door beginning to open, the queen spoke quickly to the guard. Ready the watchers. I want full eyes on the sky. Do not let them approach without warning. The guard bowed and rushed away. The queen looked at Rian. If they have returned, we must be ready. This time, we cannot afford to be weak. Rian looked down at Mira. She had stepped behind him, holding onto his hand. She was scared. He looked into her eyes again, his eyes, and felt something deep and strong. Not fear, not confusion, but responsibility. He turned back to the queen. I don't remember how I helped before. I don't remember how to fight, or lead, or protect. She nodded. But you will. I believe it, and even if your memory is lost, your heart remains the same. Rian stepped forward. Then show me what I need to know. I'll stay. For her. Mira smiled. You promise? He looked at her and nodded. I promise. The queen placed her hand on Rian's shoulder. Come, there's much to remember, and little time left. As the three of them walked out of the garden, the sun dipped low over the horizon. Far above the sky, beyond the floating cities and mountains, a shadow moved through the stars, and something ancient, something dangerous, was coming. Rian followed the queen through the tall halls of the palace. His steps were quiet, but his mind was loud. Questions moved through his thoughts like waves in a storm. The girl with human eyes called him father. The queen believed he came from the past, and now a new danger was coming from the sky. He looked around. The palace was beautiful, filled with soft lights, floating crystals, and sounds that felt like music in the air. But Rian could feel the worry behind the beauty. The people of this world were afraid, and they were looking at him for answers. The queen led him to a tall door made of blue stone. It opened slowly, revealing a round room with a glowing pool. In the center, a wide dome stretched above them, showing a map of stars across the ceiling. The air was cold and still. This is the Temple of Memory, the queen said. Few are allowed to enter. Only the royal line and those tied to our history. Ryun stepped inside. Why bring me here? Because your truth is hidden in this room, she replied. She placed her hand on the edge of the glowing pool. The water lit up, and beams of light rose into the air. They began to shape into images, memories saved by ancient technology. These were not just pictures, they moved. They spoke. They lived. The first image showed the queen, many years younger. Her hair was shorter, and her face was filled with hope. Beside her stood a man with short brown hair, kind eyes, and a calm smile. It was Ryun. He gasped. It was like looking into a mirror, except this Ryun looked stronger, more confident, and full of purpose. You came from the sky during the time of war, the queen said. Your ship was damaged, but you helped us defend our world. You taught us new ways to fight. You brought strength to our people. Ryun watched the images. He saw himself training soldiers, flying ships, and building defenses. The people around him followed his orders with trust and respect. You stood beside me when the Zorth first came, she continued. They came to destroy, to steal our world's energy. No one had ever defeated them before. But with your help, we did. The next image showed a great battle in the sky. Ships burned. Beams of energy cut across the clouds. Ryun flew a ship shaped like a bird of fire, diving into enemy lines. He was fearless. The queen's voice grew softer. But in the final battle, your ship was hit. You were badly hurt. We placed you in a healing pod. Deep within our city, we hope to save you. The image showed the queen placing Ryun's broken body into a glowing pod. She touched his hand, and her eyes filled with tears. But something went wrong, she said. The pod vanished, the energy around it twisted, and then it was gone. We thought you were lost forever. Ryun stepped back. He couldn't speak. He was watching his own death, or maybe it was his rebirth. We searched, she said, for many years. We waited. Then Mira was born. She had no father, yet she had your eyes, your blood. I kept the truth hidden, even from her. The image faded. The light from the pool dimmed. The room fell silent. Ryun looked down at his hands. He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like a warrior. But deep inside, something was waking up. I don't remember any of it, he said. Your memories may return with time. The queen answered. But even without them, you are still the same man. I believe it. She stepped closer. Your return is no accident. The Zorth are near again. They will attack, and this time, they may destroy us. Ryun looked up. What do you want me to do? Help us once more, she said. Train our defenders. Teach us what you know. Lead again. Not for me, not for the throne, but for Mira, for your daughter. At the sound of her name, Ryun felt a pull in his chest. That little girl, who smiled at him, who held his hand without fear. She was a part of him. Whether he remembered or not, she trusted him. He nodded. I'll help. I'll try. The queen gave a small smile. Then come with me. There's something else you must see. She led him through a side door in the temple. A long tunnel stretched ahead, lit by soft blue lights. At the end of the tunnel stood a round chamber filled with machines. In the center was the healing pod, the same one from the vision. It was open, cracked, and dark. This is where you vanished, the queen said. When the pod was found again, it was empty. No one knew what happened. Ryun stepped forward and touched the pod. It felt cold. A faint spark ran through his fingers. His head pulsed. A flash of light filled his mind. He saw himself older, standing beside the queen. He saw Mira laughing in a garden. He saw fire in the sky, ships burning. And then silence. His hand reached out towards something. Then all turned white. Ryun gasped and stepped back. The queen caught his arm. What did you see? Flashes, he said. Memories. I think they're coming back. She looked into his eyes. Then time is short. The Zorth may arrive in days. We must prepare. Ryun nodded. Show me everything. Teach me how to fight again. The queen placed her hand on a panel. The machines around them lit up. Weapons rose from the walls. Screens showed old battle maps. Suits of armor stood tall and ready. This was your command room, she said. It is yours again. Ryun looked around. It felt strange, but also familiar. I'll learn fast, he said. The Queen smiled gently. You always did. As they stepped into the light of the chamber, a deep alarm echoed through the palace. A voice spoke from the walls, warning, a known vessel approaching from the outer ring. Zorth signal detected. The Queen's smile faded. Her voice grew firm. Then, we begin now. The sky above Velaris turned dark. Thick clouds gathered around the sun. Though no storm had been seen, people looked up as shadows moved across the floating islands. The strange silence in the air told them what was coming. Inside the palace command room, Rian stood beside the Queen. Round them, large screens showed moving ships in space. One of the ships was huge, shaped like a dark claw. Its surface was covered in spikes and blinking red lights. That's a Zorth warship, said the Queen. Only their strongest fleets carry such a design. Rian stared at the screen. His hands were clenched. His heart beat faster, not with fear, but with something older, something from his lost memories. He looked at the Queen. What do they want? They want our energy, she replied. This world is rich in a power they can't create. They take it from other planets and leave them empty and broken. They tried once before. You helped stop them, and now they've come again, said Rian. The Queen nodded. We must not fail this time. A general entered the room. He had short silver hair and deep lines on his face. He bowed to the Queen and then to Rian. We are gathering our sky guards, the general said, but our ships are fewer than before. Many were lost in peace missions. Our warriors are strong, but they lack experience. We need leadership. The Queen turned to Rian. This is your time. Rian stepped forward. Show me your ships. Let me train your warriors. If I've done this before, I can do it again. The Queen gave a small smile. Very well. You will lead the sky defense over the next hours. Rian was taken to the Sky Tower, a tall building near the edge of the city. From there, he could see the sky paths where silver ships floated, in lines like birds. Below them, the ground shimmered with shields that protected the city from above. He met with groups of young warriors. Some looked nervous when they saw him. Others looked curious. One young pilot asked, Are you the man from the legends? Rian replied, Maybe. But legends mean nothing if we don't act now. He walked them through the ship controls, explained how to fight in formations, and showed them new ways to track enemy ships. His memory still hadn't fully returned, but his hands knew what to do. His voice grew strong. The pilots listened and learned fast. The next morning, Rian entered the training ground. A crowd waited for him. Even the oldest warriors stood with open minds. He took a deep breath and began. The Zorth don't fight like us. They move in waves. They use fear as a weapon, but fear is only powerful if we run. So we won't run. He walked between the rows of soldiers. You protect more than a city. You protect your homes, your families, your queen, and your future. He paused. You protect a child. My child. The soldiers straightened their backs. Rian saw fire in their eyes. Later, he visited Mira. She sat near the royal garden, holding a star-shaped flower in her small hands. She looked up when he came. Close, will you leave again? She asked. He knelt beside her. Not this time. Promise, I promise. She smiled, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a silver stone. You gave this to me a long time ago. I kept it safe. Rian took the stone. It was smooth and warm. As he touched it, a small flash passed through his mind. He saw Mira as a baby, held in his arms. He had sung to her, gently, under the twin suns. His hand trembled. Some memories were coming back. The next day, the Zorth ship moved closer. It hovered at the edge of the sky, just beyond the floating mountains. More small ships came with it, forming a ring like a cage around the planet. Rian stood on the flight deck. He wore a silver suit shaped to his body. On his chest was the symbol of Velaris, star within a shield. He stepped into a ship designed for him. It was called Flarewing. The moment he touched the controls, he felt at home. Pilots lined up beside him, 20 ships, ready to rise. The Queen's voice echoed through the speaker. Rian, may the stars guide you. We believe in you. Rian looked. At the screen inside the cockpit, Mira's face appeared. She waved and said, "Fly fast, Papa." The ships took off. As they rose into the sky, Rian gave commands. The pilots followed without question. The wind roared outside, but inside the ships, there was calm and focus. They reached the edge of the shield. Ahead of them, the Zorth fleet waited. The enemy ships opened their wings, revealing sharp claws and red lights. Rian pressed a button. His ship lit up with energy. The others followed. Shields rose around them. Weapons were ready. A voice from the Zorth ship called out across the sky, "This world belongs to us now." Rian replied, "Then come take it." The battle began. Beams of light shot through the air. Ships spun and dodged. Explosions flashed across the sky. Rian moved like he had done it 1,000 times before. He remembered more with every move. His hands guided the ship through fire and lightning. His voice led the others, strong and sure. Group 2. Cover the left side. Shield wing. Pull back and regroup. Strike fast. No mercy. The Zorth were powerful, but they did not expect the courage they faced. Rian's ship cut through their lines. His team followed and pushed them back. Below, the people of Velaris watched from the city towers. They cheered as their ships glowed bright in the dark sky. Inside the palace, the queen held Mira close. The child whispered, "He's coming back." "I know it." Far above, Rian flew through fire. His ship took damage, but he pressed forward. He saw the enemy flagship. It was larger than the rest, stronger, but also slower. He spoke into the comm. "I'm going in. Cover me." Two ships moved behind him. Together, they flew straight toward the flagship. The enemy fired, but missed. Rian's ship reached the center of the flagship. He aimed his weapons and fired. The blast shook the sky. The enemy flagship cracked down the middle and fell from the sky in burning pieces. The other Zorth ships began to flee. Rian breathed hard. His ship was damaged. Sparks flew inside the cockpit. He turned back toward the planet. The battle was won. But the war was not over. The sky over Velaris was alive with light and sound. The stars shone faintly beyond the thick clouds that swirled above the floating islands. Rian's heart beat like a drum. As he stood on the flight deck of the flare wing, his hands gripped the controls tightly, but his mind was calm and focused. He was not just a pilot now. He was a leader. The Zorth had returned, and this time their attack was fiercer than before. Their warships moved like dark shadows, cutting through the sky with sharp edges and red glowing weapons. The people of Velaris looked to Rian and the Queen for hope. Formation Alpha. Prepare for attack. Rian's voice rang clearly over the comms. "Stay close. Watch each other's backs. We fly as one." The pilots responded with quiet determination. 20 ships rose from the city, engines burning bright. Their silver wings glowed against the dark clouds. Rian's ship led the way, cutting through the thick air toward the enemy fleet. The battle was about to begin. The Zorth opened fire first. Beams of red energy shot through the sky. Some hit the shields of the Velaryon ships. Others exploded in the distance. Rian dodged and weaved, guiding the flare wing with skill. He did not know he still had. "Target their fighters," Rian ordered. "Keep their big ships busy." Small enemy ships dove from the fleet like swarms of angry insects. The Velaryon pilots met them head-on. Lasers flashed, and the sky was filled with bursts of light. Rian's mind raced as he moved. Memories stirred deep inside him. He saw battles, friends lost and saved, voices cheering, and the gentle smile of the Queen. His hands moved with speed and grace, firing weapons, calling out orders, and staying calm in the storm. "Flare wing to Alpha 1. I'm moving to support your left flank." "Copy that, Flare wing," came the answer. Holding position. The fight was fierce and fast. Ships clashed in the air, spinning and diving. The noise was loud and the cockpit alarms ringing, engines roaring, and voices over the comm. But Rian did not lose focus. Suddenly, an enemy ship appeared directly in front of him. It was large and fast, with glowing red eyes like a predator. Rian's ship rocked as beams hit the hull. He fired back, aiming carefully. The enemy pilot was skilled. The ships danced in the sky, twisting and turning in a deadly chase, flare wing to all. Units, Rion called out. Cover me, I'm going after the flagship. The other pilots moved quickly. They formed a shield around Rion, fighting off enemy fighters. Rion's ship surged forward. The flagship was enormous dark metal plates and giant cannons pointed at the stars. It was the heart of the enemy fleet. He felt his pulse quicken. Memories flashed. He was here before, fighting the same battle. The fear and courage of that day returned. Rion fired the main cannon. The blast hit the flagship's shield, cracking it like glass. The ship shook violently, but the flagship fired back. A huge beam of red energy shot toward Rion's ship. His shields glowed bright, holding the attack. Flare wing to all units, focus fire on the flagship. Break its shield, Rion commanded. The pilots fired together. Beams of light struck the enemy ship again and again. Slowly, the shield weakened. Inside the flagship, the enemy commander growled. Destroy that ship, he ordered. The flagship's weapons targeted Rion directly. Missiles flew toward him. He dodged and rolled, but some explosions rocked his ship. The flare wing's hull was damaged. Sparks flew in the cockpit. Warning lights flashed. Hold on, Rion muttered. Almost there. With one last burst of energy, he fired a powerful shot into the flagship's core. The enemy ship shuddered and cracked. A huge explosion lit the sky. The flagship broke apart, falling like a broken star. The enemy ships began to retreat. The Zorth were defeated. Rion's ship floated among the stars. His breath was heavy, but his spirit was strong. Flare wing to command, he said. The flagship is down. The enemy is retreating. The Queen's voice came through the speaker. You have saved us again, Rion. You are the hope of Valaris. Rion smiled faintly. I am not alone. We fight together. As the ships returned to the city, the people cheered. The Queen stood on a balcony, holding Mira close. The child looked up and waved. Rion felt a warmth in his heart. For the first time in many years, he felt at home. Later, in the palace, the Queen met Rion in the grand hall. You have done more than I dreamed, she said softly. Rion looked at Mira playing nearby. She is why I fight, the Queen nodded, and why you will lead us to a new future. Rion took a deep breath. He knew the battle was over, but the war was not finished. There were still many challenges ahead. But with Mira and the people of Valaris by his side, he felt ready. As the stars shone above, Rion looked out at the sky. The world was safe for now, but the story of the Starborn Man and the Queen's child was only just beginning. The battle was over. The skies of Valaris were calm once more. The floating islands glowed softly under the light of the twin suns. The city was alive with joy. People cheered in the streets and songs filled the air. But inside the palace, the Queen stood alone on her balcony. Her eyes were full of thoughts. She looked at the stars, wondering what the future would bring. Rion stood beside her quietly. He did not speak. The weight of what had happened pressed on them both. The Queen finally broke the silence. You have returned to us from a place beyond time. You carry the mark of the Starborn, yet your memories are still lost. Rion nodded. I feel whole again. But the past is still a mystery. She smiled softly. Maybe the past is not just a story to remember. Maybe it is a path to follow. Rion looked down at his hands. I want to know who I am, who I was. For Mira, for you. The Queen turned and led him inside the grand hall. The walls shimmered with light, and the air smelled like fresh rain. In the center stood a large crystal pedestal. On it rested a glowing orb. It pulsed gently with a soft blue light. This orb holds the memory of our world, the Queen explained. It is called the Heart of Valaris. It can reveal truths and unlock lost memories. Rion stepped forward and placed his hands on the orb. A warm light spread through his body. His eyes closed as images flooded his mind. He saw the history of Valaris, the ancient wars, the people who built the floating cities, and the power they protected. He saw himself as a young man, full of hope and courage. He saw his ship crashing, the healing pod, and the years lost in silence. But then, something new appeared, a vision of the future. A future where the people of Valaris and the humans from distant stars lived together in peace. A future where Mira grew strong and wise. A future where the stars were no longer places of fear, but of hope. Rian opened his eyes. The future is ours to build. The queen nodded. And you are its guide. Suddenly, a soft voice interrupted. Mira stepped forward, holding the silver stone Rian had given her long ago. She looked at her father with wide eyes. Papa, she said, will you teach me to fly? To be strong like you? Rian smiled and knelt beside her. I will teach you everything. Together, we will protect this world and all who live in it. The queen watched them with pride. Her daughter's laughter filled the hall like music. Days passed, and peace returned to Valaris. Rian trained the young warriors, shared stories of stars beyond their skies, and worked with the queen to rebuild their world stronger than before. The people looked to him not only as a leader, but as a symbol of hope, a bridge between the past and the future. One evening, under the light of the twin moons, Rian stood with Mira on a balcony overlooking the city. She pointed to the stars and asked, will we visit those places someday? He smiled warmly. Yes, Mira. The stars are waiting for us. She looked up at him, eyes shining with wonder. Then we will be ready. Rian wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Always. The queen joined them, her hand resting gently on Rian's back. Together, they watched the sky. The story that began with mystery and loss now blossomed into a new dawn, a story of family, courage, and the endless journey among the stars. Valaris was safe, its people were strong, and the stubborn man had found his place at last. The end.